Welcome to the foundation of whole and wholesome and in-season food. I'm Fred Davies with The Wholesome Life. Let me share my screen with you so that you can see the slides, and I'll talk through them and we'll join back up again in a minute. The food and herbs that we take are wholesome and rebuilding. When they're in their very best state, they're building the body. I like the food to be whole, complete, not processed, not parted out, not taken in parts. Your body will actually take the parts and use what is needed from the food that you take in. Wholesome means that it is building you, that it's fresh, that it's promoting your health and your wellness. Hippocrates said, "Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food." So when we're talking about food as medicine and medicine as food, I think of plants that we call herbs, but they aren't drugs. Herbs are actually whole food that may have been dried or dehydrated or maybe put in a liquid format so that you can take them, but they have the micronutrients for a specific organ or body system, and it resonates at the right level for that organ. Herbs rebuild to the perfect blueprint design of our body. They're balanced with the ability to calm and nourish and build. For example, an herb that has a stimulant property is also balanced with a calming property. God made them perfectly. Herbs do not just treat symptoms, but rather they rebuild the whole body system. So we only take herbs for a short time, a relatively short time, perhaps 6 weeks, perhaps 2 cycles of 6 weeks. Unlike drugs that are sometimes recommended or prescribed for the rest of the year, your body chooses when it's completely healed and when it doesn't need any herbs for rebuilding anymore. You've probably experienced some rebuilding already and are wondering, why is it so critical for us now, where my grandparents from 50 years ago didn't have to worry about acid-alkaline balance at all? Why? Because the chemicals have increased exponentially. It's just amazing how many more chemicals are put on the ground now than were not 50 or 60 or 100 years ago. So my grandparents ate organic foods, fresh from the garden, no chemicals, more nutrition, fresh, in season, right now, more alkaline. They also got out in the sunshine and got more exercise, and that sunshine is critical for our body's ability to absorb vitamin D and absorb calcium, which is part of our acid-alkaline balance. Our alkalinity is affected by our food intake. The quality of the food that you eat affects your alkalinity. The preparation of the food affects its alkalinity also, so keep it in its wholesome state. Your emotional state while you're eating also affects the alkalinity of the food and your ability to absorb it and nourish it. So mealtime should be a calm time to connect and love one another. It's affected by how you eat, and we'll address that a little bit more. But for now, let's talk about chew, chew, chew. Slow down and chew our food so that it can actually be absorbed. We also don't drink liquids with meals because it dilutes the stomach acids. And I try and follow that one to make our ability to absorb those foods processed by the stomach and not diluted by water or juice or other things. Dr. Christopher said, chew your liquids and drink your food. Well, what does that actually mean? Why did he say that? We should mix our liquids in our mouth with saliva so that it has that alkaline saliva to go down to our stomach. By drinking the food, he says, chew it until it's completely liquid and then swallow it. Then it's broken down well enough so that our food becomes our nourishment. I want to examine in the next few slides the acid-alkaline nature of foods. Notice that to the green side, it's more alkaline. So light blue, light green, and then dark green is alkaline, whereas yellow, orange, and red are acid. And strong red, of course, is the most acid, whereas strong green is the most alkaline. In the category of breads, condiments, and dairy, notice that breads, condiments, and dairy are mostly acid. That doesn't mean that there aren't some that are good for us, but it does mean that they're mostly acid. And we should eat from those that are least acid. For example, sourdough bread is just barely acid, as is whole bread, whole wheat bread, whole grain bread that perhaps you're homemade. In the dairy area, fresh buttermilk is the only one that's slightly alkaline. The rest of dairy is acid, whereas nut milks and things like that may be slightly alkaline. Let's look at beverages and drinks. Notice that all of the standard beverages, beer, coffee, fruit juice that's sweetened, any liquors, sodas, black teas, those are all strongly acid and very hard on the body. Whereas herbal teas, which we could call infusions instead of teas, water that came from a good municipal water system that's been filtered, artesian wells, and spring waters are alkaline. Reverse osmosis water is strongly acid, so is not beneficial to us, is not strengthening to us. Let's look at the category of vegetables, and we'll take a look at a couple of pages of this just to get an idea of where these land. Remember that anything from blue, green, or dark green is alkaline to strongly alkaline. Most of the vegetables are in the alkaline area, with the exception of a few things like canned vegetables or cooked vegetables. It changes them to slightly acid. Does that mean never eat cooked? Absolutely not. Don't get that idea from this presentation. It just means that it may change the nature of it. And when you can eat fresh, eat fresh. You'll see that alfalfa, barley grass, and wheatgrass, along with dandelion and a few others, are very, very alkaline. And that's strongly supportive of your systems, especially if you're doing hard work. I love to use Dr. Christopher's combination called Jurassic Green, which is alfalfa, barley grass, and wheatgrass, as an effort to counteract the strong work that I'm doing out in the hot sun. Notice on this vegetables also that frozen vegetables are slightly acidic, and many vegetables, pretty much all of them, are alkaline, and they're good for us. They've got the fresh juices in them, the fresh energy from being just picked in them. More vegetables, more alkaline. Won't take time to cover all those. You can pause if you want to just read through that. I do want to talk about in-season foods, though. In-season foods actually do taste better. You know that one. They're less expensive because they've been just picked, or maybe you got them right out of your garden. or from a neighbor, they are fresher, so they have higher nutrition right now. They're grown locally or closer to home, which means that they're fresh to you. They haven't had to be trucked somewhere. They haven't had to be on the road for days. And it's actually got a lot more nutrition, which means number 6 there, that they're environmentally friendly. They've put more toxins into the environment because you've walked across the street to get them from your neighbor, you've got them out of your own yard, or you've picked them up at your local store. It also supports your nutritional needs for this time of year. And to see what's in season in your area, because we've kind of lost that idea by being able to buy things at so many different parts of the year. You can look at www.seasonalfoodguide.org and select your own area and see what's in season for you. There are so many good things that are in season all the time. Now, if we need to restore our acid alkaline reserves, the best way to do that is with a whole food plant-based diet. I've restored mine also using apple cider vinegar and organic blackstrap molasses. You'll notice that it says unsulfured on the label also. And the way I do it is I just put 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and 1 tablespoon of blackstrap molasses in a glass of room temperature or warm water, mix it up and sip it. This gives alkaline minerals and alkaline reserves to the body, which means our ability to have more acid and more alkaline is restored. Sometimes when our stomach is giving us acid reflux or indigestion, it's just because we don't have enough stomach acid to digest things. And this, either in the morning or before each meal, has made a huge difference for myself. And you might check to see if it would make a difference for you. I'll remind you right now to remember to use your muscle testing to get the right foods and herbs in at the right amounts, the right time. Because as you remember from the building analogy in principle 2, your body needs different building materials, different times from day to day, and maybe from different times of the day. Because as we build a building, first we dig the footings, then we lay the rebar and pour the concrete, and then frame the walls and put in the plumbing and the wiring and hang the sheetrock and so forth. But what happens if today I need a certain food, but I get the wrong food in me? Maybe I needed, in the building analogy, concrete today, but instead the acquisition manager, me in this case, ordered, because it was on sale or looked good, a second-hand sheetrock load to be delivered instead. Maybe I needed vegetables, but I ordered a donut or a brownie instead, and it wasn't what I needed. So remember to use your muscle testing to find out what you need today. Thank you for joining us today and for learning the principles that it takes to rebuild your body. And we'll see you again next time